Hey guys, it's Emily, and today I'm going to be sharing my fall reading list. So yes, the seasonal TBRs are back, and I couldn't be more excited to be sharing my fall reading list with you today. Fall is my favorite season, and I went kind of hard with that reading list. As you'll see, I have quite a few titles. I think I have about 40 books on my reading list for this year. Now, let's be honest, I'm probably not going to read all of them. I kind of wanted to have a mood board with different options based on different moods and vibes that I might want to go for during the fall season. So you'll see that I have dark academia, mystery thrillers, spooky books, cozy vibes, and a lot of different things that encompass fall for me. So without further ado, I'm just gonna jump right in. Now, as I have a lot of titles on my list, as I just said, I will not be going into too much details because I don't want this video to be like hours long. However, I will be linking every book that I talk about in the description box down below so that if you guys want to check them out for yourselves, you can. So you'll see that there are a couple of repeats from last year. So books that I didn't get around to reading last year, but I really still wanted to read them this year. So I brought those over and we're gonna start with those and then move on into the new titles. So the first book on my list is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Now, I really wanted to read this last year and I never really got around to it, so I'm hoping that this year is finally going to be the year that I read this. This is a classic and I've heard that it's kind of spooky, it has some romance elements in it. There's a new Netflix adaptation that came out like last year that I really want to watch, and I don't know, it sounds like something I might enjoy. I've heard that this is a very easy classic to get into because it's a more recent one, so hopefully we'll finally read this year. Next up, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So this book is a YA mystery thriller. It's the first one in a trilogy and it has gotten quite a bit of hype this year. I feel like I've been seeing it a lot going around like last fall and into the rest of the year as well, but I don't know, I'm excited to read it. I've heard really great things about it. Mystery thrillers, especially the YA ones, tend to be hit or miss for me, but I have a feeling I might like this one. Then another repeat from last year is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. So I've had this book on my shelves for 2-3 years, I think now, and I have yet to read it. I know it's quite controversial here on BookTube. People either seem to love it or hate it. I hope I will be on the side that ends up loving it, but I have no idea. But it does talk about witches in the, I think, 1800s in France, and it's a romance between a witch and a witch hunter, but the witch hunter doesn't know that he has married a witch, and I don't know, it sounds interesting. I have read the first chapter of this a couple of times because I did it for try chapter tags, and I never really felt gripped by this book, but I have a feeling that this is one that I need to give more time and energy to, so I'm hoping that this year is finally going to be the year where I decide whether or not I like this one. Another one that I'm super excited to read this year is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I have heard quite a few people talk about this, and the more I hear people talk about it, the more excited I become. Basically, it's all about the daughters of like famous people from Gothic literature. So we have the daughter of Dr. Jekyll, we have the daughter of Mr. Hyde, I think Sherlock Holmes and Watson come into play here, and it sounds super fun. I've heard so many great things about this series because this is the first one in a trilogy, and I've heard that the narrative style is quite unique, so I am very much looking forward to reading it. Then I have Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. So this is a sequel to City of Ghosts, which I've read last year and really enjoyed. This follows Cassidy Blake, who can see ghosts, and her parents are ghost hunters, but they don't know that Cassidy can actually see ghosts. And so it's quite fun. Her parents are filming this ghost hunting TV show where they travel to different haunted cities in the world, and Cassidy is along for the ride, and this one is taking place in Paris, so I am very excited to read it. Next up, I have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. No, I haven't read this book yet. I feel like I have included it in a couple of TBRs, but I feel like this year is going to be the year that I read this book, at least I hope so. It's kind of become a classic in the dark academia genre. I don't know anything about the plot of this. I know there's a mystery at play. I know it takes place at Yale. I think ghosts come into play somehow, but other than that, I don't know anything about it, but I love Leigh Bardugo, so I really hope that I will end up enjoying this one. Next up, I have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So I have actually already started reading this, don't know if you can tell, but I still wanted to include it in the list because technically I have not finished it, so it's something that I would like to finish during the season. But this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that takes place in 1920s Shanghai, and there's a monster roaming the streets and basically the two gangs. So we have Roma Romeo and Juliet, they will have to team up to try to figure out what's wrong with the city and how to beat this monster. So far, I'm really enjoying this. I think it's a perfect atmosphere for fall. It's kind of dark and gloomy, and I think it's a perfect fall read, and so I kind of wanted to include it on this list. The next book on my list is Paris by the Book by Liam Callanan. So I think this is another one that I included in last year's reading list, but basically it follows a woman whose husband is in Paris, or we think he's in Paris, and he sends her tickets to come join him, I guess. But when she gets there, she realizes that he's not there, and he left a manuscript of a book that he was working on that she had no idea about. And I think the book is about her trying to find her husband, and somehow she becomes the owner of a bookshop. I don't know, I'm excited. I love books about books, and I think they're perfect for the fall season. And I also like the mystery behind the, you know, missing husband situation. So I hope this is one that I will end up liking. The next book on my list is A Night Film by Marisha Pessl. So I don't know too much about the plot of this. I just know that it is a mystery thriller taking place in New York City. I think it's a mixed media format. I think that's what I've heard. I've heard great things about this author's work, so I would love to give this one a try. I've heard so many people talk about this, and so I think this is one that I would really enjoy. The next book is another kind of classic in the dark academia genre, and that's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Once again, I don't know too much about the plot, but I feel like I've heard so many people talk about it. It's another one where people either seem to love it or hate it, but just because it's so popular, I would love to read it and finally like make up my mind about it. My next book is also another dark academia, but this one is a new release, and it is How We Fell Apart by Katie Zhao. Another one that I don't know the plot of, I just know that it's dark academia, it's YA, it's a new release. I've heard really good things about it, and I think it follows Asian American kids in a private school. That's it, and I'm just excited. Those are like buzzwords for me. Private school, dark academia, I'm in. Now let's talk about murders. So the next book on my list is The Decagon House Murders by, I forgot the author's name, but the cover will be included on the screen. So I believe that this is a book translated from Japanese, but it follows a group of university students who somehow end up in a house somewhere. And I think it's kind of an homage to Agatha Christie because people start dying like one by one, kind of like And Then There Were None. And I think there's a lot of references to Agatha Christie throughout the book. At least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I love a good murder mystery during the fall season, so I thought I would try out this one. My next book is also all about murder, and it is Murder Most and Ladylike by Robin Stevens. So this is a middle grade book, and I believe it follows two girls who like open their own detective agency at their school. I don't know. I think it's set in the 1930s, and there's a murder that occurs and they're trying to solve it. That's all I know. I don't know too much, but I've heard great things about it, especially from Gavin. So I am really looking forward to discovering a new middle grade mystery because middle grade mysteries are some of my favorites. Up next, we have These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. Now, this one I have a weird history with because I've seen it recommended. I've seen people talk about this book, but I think one of you guys recommended it specifically to me last year. I don't remember who, I don't remember when, but I think I saw someone commenting on one of my videos telling me to read this book, and because of that, I really want to get to it. I think this is also sapphic, but I'm not 100% sure. I know it's YA, it involves witches. That's all that I know, and it has a pretty cover, so I mean, I'm definitely going to give it a try. Next up, we have a spooky Disney book, and it is Part of Your Nightmare by Vera Strange. So this is part of a new series published by Disney, and it's called The Disney Chills. It says the dreams that you fear will come true. And I think it's kind of like a spooky Disney series that follows the different villains. This one is about Ursula, and I don't know about the plot of this. I know it follows different villains. Each book focuses on a different villain, but I don't know if they're like interconnected or anything, but this is the first one in the series, and I would love to give it a try. Next, I have The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde. I absolutely love Oscar Wilde's writing. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray last year, and I fell in love with it, so I am really looking forward to reading this one. I think I saw this recommended from Isabella at Throne of Pages. She read it last year for like a gothic or like dark academia type of video, and she said that this was really funny as well, so I'm looking forward to it. It's super short, and I don't know, it involves a ghost. It's supposed to be fun. I'm excited. Up next, I have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. So this is a YA dark academia book that's set, I believe, at UNC, though I could be wrong, and it is an Arthurian legend retelling. I'm a sucker for those. It has all of my buzzwords, so I'm really looking forward to that, but I've heard so many great things about it. People kept raving about it last year, so I really want to read it this year. Up next, I have The London Eye Mystery by Shaban Dodd. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing the author's name, but this is how it's spelled if you want to look it up. But I don't know anything, once again, about the plot of this. I think it follows two kids who go off to London. There's something with the London Eye, obviously, but they are sent there. Someone goes missing, I think, and they have to find them. It takes place in London. I mean, it's all I needed to know. Talking about middle grade mysteries, I also have The Mystery of the Jeweled Moth by Catherine Woodfine. So this is the second book in the Sinclair Mysteries series, and I didn't love the first book, but I liked it. I really loved the department store setting, and it's set in Edwardian era, I think, or maybe it's the Victorian era. Not too sure, but I think this is like perfect for fall, and so I thought I would include the sequel to this list because I did want to continue with the series. Up next we have Night Books, which is another middle grade book. I don't know the author's name, but this will be on the screen once again. So this one sounds so much fun. Basically, we have a boy who's being kept locked up like by a witch, and every night he has to tell her a story in order to stay alive. So this is kind of like a Sherazade retelling. I've been told that this includes like scary stories and everything. I saw this recommended from Lexi, and I just really want to read it. It sounds so good and kind of creepy and spooky, and I think it would be perfect for this season. The next book on my list is a very hyped and popular new release, and it is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So, like I said, quite hyped, very popular. The sequel is coming out or has just come out, not too sure. But I don't know much about this. I know it's kind of like a nice out vibe type of book. Basically, we have a girl who ends up inheriting the fortune from a very, I guess, like a billionaire type of person. And she has to go live in his house, but the rest of his family lives there. The girl is not connected to the billionaire in any way, at least not that she knows of. So yeah, I don't know. It sounds fun. I've heard so many great things about it. People say that it's kind of a turn pager. People are on the edge of their seat reading this. So I'm excited. This is the type of book that I'm looking for this fall. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. Up next, I have Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega. So this is described as Coco meets Stranger Things. I don't know much about the plot. I think we have our main character who ends up like waking up some kind of spirit, and she's gonna try to like make that spirit go back to where it belongs. It sounds fun. I love the cover for this, and I think it's gonna be perfect around Halloween. Then I have Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. So this is kind of a dark academia type book, and it is the sequel to Vicious, which I absolutely loved. It's been forever since I read that book, I feel like, and I really want to read the sequel. I know there's a third book coming out at some point. It has turned into a trilogy, which is very exciting, but since I really enjoyed the first book, I thought I would give the sequel a try. Then I have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. I don't know much about the plot. Once again, I feel like this is a recurrent theme in this video, but this is kind of a retelling of Frankenstein, but that focuses on Elizabeth, who is Victor's wife and cousin. It's been a while since I've read Frankenstein, so I might want to reread that before diving into a retelling, but I've heard so many great things about this that I really want to give it a try. It sounds so good and perfect for like October, so I hope that I will be able to get to it this year. On my list is also An Assassin's Guide to Love and Treason. So this is an YA historical fiction book, and I believe that it is kind of a 12th Night retelling, meaning that we have a main character who ends up pretending to be a boy to go and play this Shakespeare play for the Queen of England, and I think they're trying to kill the Queen of England, but there ends up being like a lot of other things at play, and so I don't know, it sounds very fun. I love Shakespeare retellings, so I really want to read this one. I'm hoping that this one will fulfill all of my crazy Shakespeare fantasies. Next on my list is a Canadian classic, and it is none other than Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. So I have kind of a weird history with Anne of Green Gables. Technically, this is the first big book, read here, like non-picture book that I've ever read, but I never finished it. So technically this is my first ever DNF, and also this is my mom's favorite book series. She never finished a series, but she owns all of it and she's read parts of it. I've been told that this is wonderful, that this is one of the best books to read during the fall season, so obviously I had to put it on my list. It's kind of I think it's a children's classic, though I don't know if it's like meant for an older or younger audience, I'm not too sure, but I just really wanted to read it, especially since it is a Canadian classic. I kind of want to get to know my own country's literature and like culture better, so I'm really hoping to read this one. I am so excited to read it. I bought the whole box set, so I really hope that I end up enjoying this one. Next up, I have The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. So another Dark Academia type book. I think this one deals with art a lot. I don't know about the plot once again, but I feel like I've heard that this deals with like art history or something like that, and I'm really into that, so I thought that I would try this one out. Now let's talk about some classics. So first I have The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. So this is one that I'm really hoping to read in French because this is a French classic, but I've been told that this is the perfect like gothic literature read, and I don't know, I know it's very beloved and I really want to give it a try. I know nothing about the plot, but I feel like this is one that I'm really going to like. All right, so someone is mowing their lawn. We're gonna power through. Anyway, next up I have Dracula by Bram Stoker. So I think we all know the story of Dracula, but we actually don't really know it. As far as I'm aware, this is more like a epistolary type of novel, so it's written in letters, and I really want to finally know like the true story behind Dracula because everything that I've heard has been a lie apparently. So I really would love to know what it's all about, and I've heard really great things about it, and it's another like gothic novel perfect for this time of year. Next up I have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. So this is a Dark Academia mystery thriller. I don't feel like I know the plot of this. I think it takes place at a university and someone is getting killed or something like that, and there's this club called the Maidens. I know like tidbits of the book. It's a new release. I've heard both great things and like mediocre things about the book, so I'm quite curious to see like on which side I will fall on. For the cozy vibes, I'm adding The Bookshop on the Shore by Jenny Colgan. I read The Bookshop on the Corner last year, and it is one of my favorite books that I've read last year, and this is a companion novel to that. I've been told that this one is even more like perfect for fall than the other one was because it takes place like during the fall season. I think there's like a Halloween scene at some point, and like the cover, I mean, look at this. Like the color scheme is perfect, and so I am very excited to continue reading this series. Next up, I have Mythos by Stephen Fry. So this is like an anthology of classic myth from Greek mythology, and I'm a sucker for Greek mythology, so I thought I would add this one to my list. The book looks absolutely beautiful. Like the physical copy looks amazing. I've seen it in the store and I'm like obsessed with it. I really want it. I've been told that the audiobook is the way to go because Stephen Fry narrates it, so I'm probably gonna end up like listening to the audiobook and reading the physical copy, but this is one that I would really love to read. Even if I don't finish it, like I would love to read tidbits throughout the fall. I think that would be perfect. So hopefully I'll get my hands on a copy. Up next is what is probably one of my most anticipated releases of this year, and it is Danger at Dead Man's Pass by Sam Sedgman and MJ Leonard. So this is the fourth book in the Adventures on Train series. You guys know that I love this series. It's a middle grade mystery series that takes place on trains around the world, and I'm so excited that the next book is coming out soon. I think it's coming out on September 16th, though I could be wrong. I have pre-ordered my copy. I am so incredibly excited. And this one, I've been told that it is kind of a spooky read. It takes place around the fall season in Germany, I believe. Up next, I have Mating the Huntress by Talia Hibbert. So I'm not big on like paranormal romance or just like monster romance and that type of thing, but I thought I would give it a try. Talia Hibbert can do no wrong in my eyes, and this is like a werewolf and huntress type of situation. The next book on my list is Eva Evergreen, Semimagical Witch by Julia Abel, I think. But this one is kind of described as a Studio Ghibli movie vibe, meaning that it's supposed to be very cozy and fun and magical, and I have never seen a Studio Ghibli movie, but I've been told that it's like the coziest thing. So I am looking forward to reading this. I've heard great things about this one, and I think it's about this girl who is a witch, but she is not as powerful as she should be. I don't know too much about this, obviously, but I am still very excited. I feel like this is going to be a very cozy read, and I love middle grade, so I'm hoping that I will love this one as much as everyone else seems to. Then I have The Appeal, and this one is a mystery thriller, and it's like a murder mystery situation. Someone dies in a small town, and the way that it is written, it's like you have to solve the mystery. I'm not big on mystery thrillers, but this one is one that I'm really looking forward to reading. The next book on my list is Something Wicked This Week Comes by Ray Bradbury. I've been told that Ray Bradbury is like the perfect author during the reading the fall season because apparently he's really good at describing the scene and like setting up the ambiance, and so I thought I would check out this one. I think it's about a circus or something like that that's like haunted. It sounds interesting. I'm kind of a scaredy cat, so hopefully this won't be too scary, but still, I need the gorgeous writing about fall, so I think this would be perfect for that. And the final book on my list, yes, you heard right, is Rules for Vanishing. This one, I think it was Books and Lala who talked about this on her channel recently, and basically it follows a girl who is trying to find her missing sister, and she has to walk this path that basically goes through this forest that's kind of haunted, but if she goes off the path, like weird and bizarre things and bad things are going to happen. I am so excited. I've been told that this is like very gripping and that you cannot really put this book down and that it's kind of spooky and scary, but not too much. So I'm really hoping that it would like this one. Oh no, sorry, I forgot. There's another one on my list, and it is A Lesson in Vengeance. So this was not the last book. This one is by Victoria Lee. So this one is a new release. It's kind of dark academia because we have a magical or like a haunted boarding school, and we have characters who are trying to solve a murder. I think there was a group of girls at this school that like died in a mysterious way, and we're trying to figure out what happened to them. So I'm excited. I've heard so many people talk about it, and it seems to be all very positive so far. So I'm looking forward to reading this. So that is it. That is my fall reading list. Yes, it is quite extensive, and like I mentioned, I don't think I will be reading everything on this list, but this is kind of more of a mood board, like I've mentioned at the beginning. Now, let me know what you guys are planning on reading this fall. If you have read any of the books on this list, I would love to know what you thought about them. No spoilers, please. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!